Hey, it's Morris Anderson again, and out on another evening walk. I've got some overcast clouds tonight, so it's pretty comfortable, pretty nice, no wind. And the past couple weeks, we finally got officially approved with our CIK number, which if you go to dragonize.org, you'll see all the information that the Securities Exchange Commission has approved our Regulation A Circular, which is a big deal as that allows us to officially and legally sell our shares. In this particular circular, we are selling each share at 10 cents, up to 9 million shares, so up to $900,000. Out of that $900,000, that is going to help us get the printers and locations that we need to boost our circulation of the Dragonize Syndicate up to 300,000. And all of that information, again, is available at dragonize.org. So it's been a lot of excitement, a lot of a reward for something that I have been working on for such a long time. As I've stated a couple times, in high school I did the stock market game and absolutely fell in love with how the stock market works, how companies work, how you create shares, how they get invested. And this has been a goal of mine ever since high school, to start a corporation that has the ability to sell shares to shareholders. And eventually I would love to see Dragonize Studios and Institute Inc. on the New York Stock Exchange. So that is what this step takes us, is to get there. Now, the biggest question I have with people is, what is Regulation A? It's still kind of a new concept. It is part of the Jobs Act from 2012. It was passed huge by bipartisan. Both parties in Congress passed it high numbers. It got to President Obama's desk, signed it, no questions. Went into law. And what this does is it allows small businesses to bypass some of the reporting requirements that most of your New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ or Amex companies have to do in order to qualify to sell the shares. So the Jobs Act starts for jumpstart our small businesses. And with the progression of the internet and social media and stuff like that, it made it easier for people to communicate and do things. So that's why at dragonize.org, once people do buy shares, they can become a member of the shareholders group page, which shows all the things that's going on, all the paperwork that we need to file. And, you know, as a Regulation A company, we do have to keep certain files uploaded to the EDGAR system, the EDGAR, which is the data and gathering, analyzing system. So all the corporations, whether on the stock market or not, that are selling shares, have to have their EDGAR numbers. And that's where I get the CIK number and uploaded the files behind it and get approved. So it's been quite an exciting time. So I'm very, very proud that I was able to get in there and figure it out. In all honesty, it's taken me 3 years since I started reading about Regulation A. So back in 2006, 2007, I was working on my sports mall project, and I was using Regulation D, which is where I first became familiar with it. But that only allowed accredited investors to participate in the circular. And to be an accredited investor, not very many of us. Typically, it's an institute or some corporation or another business that had the qualifications to be able to invest. And back in 06, 07, I did do really good, but it was through a British hedge fund to raise an amount of money for the sports mall. And I didn't like that as much because those would be called your sharks, basically. They want to put all the money into your hard ideas and sweat and work and stuff like that, and then they want to change your bylaws, and then it puts you at a big disadvantage because now they have greater share of your own company. So when Regulation A came out and they allowed non-accredited investors to participate, that was a big deal for a lot of us small businesses, and it really does give us that jump start that we need to expand. Yeah, up here at the lake, let's see if we can see. It's nice and cloudy today, isn't it? So it's getting a little bit darker now. Lights are turning on, but my camera's still doing pretty good. Pretty happy with it. And the other great thing with Regulation A that I could not do with Regulation D is advertise and promote the circular through social media and stuff like that. Which makes sense why we're going to promote the magazine first. Because with that rule, we can tell people about our circular and the opportunity to invest through our own magazine. So that's like perfect idea to get started. And that's, like I said, that's one of the best things about Regulation A that Regulation D or some of the other SEC vehicles couldn't accommodate. So, but as a non-accredited investor, you do have limits. And I think they're very good limits. I'm actually very pleased with what Congress did on the Jobs Act because they did make it a little more strict for businesses to start selling the shares. And I agree on that because there's been a lot of dishonest businesses take advantage of investors' money, and it just didn't work. And it ruins the trust for everybody else who's out there actually trying to do an honest, legit job. But then it also puts some restrictions on the investor as well, so that they do not go beyond their limits and invest more than what they can afford to lose if perchance the company fails. And I do agree with that as well. And it just all comes back into greed from both sides. Corporations oversell their stuff, can't meet the promises. Investors look at this, oh wow, there's no way this can fail. If I throw everything into this, then I'm going to come out ultra rich, never work the rest of my life, which is just selfishness, greed, and not a realistic thing to do. So the SEC has done a very good job at protecting both the company and the investor. So the last few days since we've been approved, that has been some of the questions that people have been asking. Well, what can I do? What can't I do? We registered under Tier 1 of Regulation A. There's two tiers under Regulation A. One allows you to raise up to 20 million, which is Tier 1, and Tier 2 would be up to 50 million. And there's a little bit of reporting difference. As a Tier 1, we don't have to have audited financials. What we produce is good enough for those things because we can't raise enough money to hurt people in a failure. But if you raise the 50 million under Tier 2, all your financials have to be third-party audited. And eventually, we may want to take advantage of that vehicle too. So it's always good to know what you can do, what you can't do with certain things. So yeah, we went with Tier 1 on this one to just because we only needed so much. We listed at $900,000 because that's what we need. Yes, I could have listed at $20 million, but at this point, that's not what we need. So as long as we keep it within the scope, follow our plan, and only take what we need so that we can give a better return later, then I think we'll do a much better job. It's a little bit more trustable. And these are restricted securities. Oh wow, it's gotten dark fast since I came out here barely see myself now. But yeah, these restricted securities, it means that we as a corporation control when you can turn around and sell those. So I decided for this one, since we're still so fresh, that investors won't be able to sell their shares to another party until after this first circular closes. And I'm hoping $900,000 isn't a big time from the time that, you know, from now till the time we reach that number. So that way, if you want to hurry and get out, you can go ahead and sell your shares. And existing shareholders at the close of this circular will get first right of selling their shares before we open up a second circular at 50 cents a share. So that's one way that the investors will get to make an increase in the value of their shares of what they've got. So the fishermen just leaving. It's kind of fun walking around up here at the lake. I'm going to walk over to the bird of paradise over here. It's a sailboat. It used to be behind the gargoyle until the monsoons hit and the docks had to be rearranged. And unfortunately, the wind took this boat and broke the lines. They were just too old. So if you have a boat, put big, strong new lines on it so that it doesn't end up breaking away from the docks and on the dam and then sinking. So it's really sad. It's a beautiful big boat, but we'll see how well I can see it in this light. But I'm about 200 yards off it right now. But again, back to your restricted securities, you just have to hold on to those shares until we close this first circular. Once it closes, you will have 90 days to decide to sell your shares before we open the second circular. So that way you've got an intrinsic value increase. But if you don't want to hold on to it, your long-term investments, you will be able to watch us start growing our revenues and growing our profits. According to the bylaws, we are giving quarterly dividends. And I think that's a good way to do it, as we don't pay ourselves an income and the board of members, board of directors. Instead, it's options through shares. Okay, here's the bird of paradise. Let's see if, whoops. Well, let's see, there's the bird of paradise, and it's a pretty good sized boat. You can see it's up here on the hard, and unfortunately, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a big old rub of missing fiberglass. Yeah, it's too dark to see. So all right, well, since it's getting dark, it's probably getting boring to watch me now. Probably better looking this way, but oh well, we'll wait till the light comes and redo. So, all right, in the meantime, make sure you believe greatly and achieve greatly. Go to dragonize.org, create your account, do some research and study. Learn if Dragonize Studios and Institute Incorporated would be a good fit for you as an investor. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. Have a good one.